morning and welcome everyone. My name is Victoria Castor and I am the Sustainability and Water Conservation Coordinator for the City of Peoria. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is trees and how best to select them and to plant them. So we are here today at the Peoria Fusion Xeriscape Garden, and behind me is the sugar bush, which is a small tree, but a great lovely example that we'll kind of use today. So trees have amazing benefits when it comes to your ecosystem, but also your energy bill. If you plant the right tree in the right place in your landscape, you can reap the benefits, not only of fresh air and for the wildlife, but that shade it can provide to your house can reduce your energy bill considerably. So the first thing is to know your landscape. Think of where in your yard a tree would fit best. But when we're talking about tree size, make sure that you are looking at the mature size of the tree. When they're cute and small at the nursery in that 5-gallon container, they look like they'll fit anywhere. But if the mature size of the tree is a 30-foot wide canopy, but your yard only spans 15 to 20 feet, that might not be the tree for your yard. There are many different trees that come in different growth habits. Some of them are very upright, some of them are really widespread. So knowing the area in your landscape that you want to have the tree will really help be your deciding factor into the different tree types that you can have. Another important thing is to make sure that we plant the tree properly. When you get the tree in the nursery and it comes in the large bucket, most likely there's several inches of just mulch that's on top. You have to dust all that off until you can find that first leader root or the root flare. So you have the trunk and then you have the root flare or that first root. That location is the point that needs to be above the surface when you plant the tree. That may mean that if your container is this big, the hole you actually need to dig, because where that root is may only be about 1.5 to 2 feet deep. So look for that, and that will tell you how deep your hole needs to be. You also need to make sure that you make the hole about 2 times wider than the pot that the tree is in, because that provides an area for the roots to expand and to grow into. So when we plant our trees too deeply, it can cause a host of problems that lead to an early death of the tree. Not only do the roots not get enough oxygen if they're too deep, but in our windstorms during the monsoon season, when we have those heavy winds, all of the force of that wind is now on the main branch of the tree and not being able to flex with the roots, so we have a lot more tree failure. So it's very important to find that leader root or find that root flare and make sure that that is an inch or two above your hole. You also have to account for settling. When we plant a new tree and we've dug up all that soil, there's going to be a little bit of settling over time. And so you want to be able to allow for that so that you don't end up having a deep hole and then over time those roots get buried even deeper. So we've talked about tree selection, the right plant for the right place. We've talked about how to properly dig the hole and how deeply to plant the tree. So now let's talk about watering. So believe it or not, when we first plant a tree, you have to put water right at the trunk because that's where they're watering in the nursery. But as that tree grows and gets established, which takes about 2 years, we need to be able to move that watering out towards the edge of the canopy. Like this sugar bush tree behind me, you can see that the edge of the canopy right there, when it rains, the water's naturally going to hit the leaves and shed off to that point. That's actually where the roots are that can absorb the water. When we water just at the trunk itself, it actually causes more rot issues and problems, and it's not providing the water where the tree needs. So it's always important as a tree grows to make sure that we're providing water further out to adjust for the canopy and the root size. After we've planted a tree, it's really important that we provide consistent watering for the first 2 years until it gets what we call established. But that means the first few weeks it's in the ground, we just make sure that we wet the area and that it dries out a little, and then we wet the area. And you do want it to dry out in between waterings, otherwise you can come into some root issues. Once it's been in for a few months, you can begin to kind of back those waterings off to maybe just once a week. By the time the tree is about 2 years old, you should be able to water deeply. So we want to water trees to a depth of about 3 feet, but infrequently. So we're providing that deep watering, but we may only be watering once a month. If it's a native desert tree, sometimes you don't even have to water that frequently because those trees eventually can be cut off from your irrigation once they are mature and established. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you go and plant some wonderful trees to provide all the amazing benefits that they can give us.